This is an example of how we use Asana to manage our personnel register at Foundations Family Daycare. We've chosen to use Asana because it collates all of the information we need in one easy to use location. Asana is a task management software, but we have optimized its features to work in the way that we need to manage both our staff register and our educator register in one easy to use project. I'm going to give you a little walkthrough of a sample version of our personnel register. I can't show you our real personnel register due to privacy reasons, and so I've created a sample that we can work through together. The first column we have is for templates. Each square in the column is called a card, and these are templates for all the various cards we use across our personnel register. The next place we come to is staff. This is where the cards and the information about staff, volunteers, and students live. For each staff member, we have a card, and when we click on that, we can see their name, their roles in the service. There's also a list of tags. We can click on each tag and it filters our personnel register by that tag. I can't show you how that works because if I were to click on that, it would bring up things from our real personnel register, but it's a great feature. You can see here we've also collated the required information to keep in the staff register, qualifications, training, all of the things we need to know about each staff member, including a checklist of upcoming training. This is the case for all of our staff. The other thing we are building into our personnel register at the moment is a device register. You can see here we've labeled this with the staff member that it relates to. We've also tagged device register. That way, if an authorized officer ever needed to see our device register, we could click on that tag and it would bring up everything that is in the device register at a glance. Really easy to look through. We've got a laptop and some cloud storage registered here. We also register things like phones, USB sticks, other devices that are able to be approved to be incorporated into the device register. The bulk of our personnel register is our educators. You can see here, as this is a sample, I've done 3 educators for us to look through and get a feel for how it all works. Each educator has a dedicated column for them and all of the information related to them. At the top, they have a card with their name on it. And if we click on that, we can again see a collection of tags that we can use to filter data. We've got all of the information about that educator, including their premises and residence diagram, training they've done, their hours of operation, etc. In checklist, we also have due dates assigned to every item in their checklist and a person assigned to those dates as well. In our main register, the person who is assigned to these tasks is the educator's field coordinator. You might call them a coordinator or a resource officer. It is the staff member who is directly responsible for looking after that educator. When the date arrives, the staff member will get a reminder about this particular task, whether it is the 8-week reminder or the actual event. They can then let the educator know that something is due. The reason we have 8-week reminders built in is so that educators have ample time to organise things like a new licence, book in first aid training, etc. So they've got plenty of time to make sure they're always compliant. The next card we have here is the educator's business name. Sometimes we will get an inquiry from a parent saying, I'd like to register my child with Best Place Family Daycare. And we may not always be able to recall who that is off the top of our head. So having each educator's business name listed with their information makes it really easy to work out which educator that parent is talking about. Next, we've got the educator support card. Each of these has a photo of that educator on it. The reason we have a photo is because Foundations has educators from the Eyre Peninsula in South Australia all the way across to Gippsland in Victoria. Our staff don't necessarily all get to see every educator all the time. And so having their photos in the register makes it easy for us to know who we're talking to to remember what they look like, and it helps us feel a little bit more connected, especially if I'm not that person's field coordinator who is seeing them on a very regular basis. In that card, we document all of the support we give each educator, whether that's an email, a text message, all of their home visit reports and home safety checks and everything like that live in this card as well. So everything's very, very easy to find. We then have cards for their family members, again with relevant information and dates assigned to the educator's field coordinator so that we can be maintaining compliance. For underage family members, we document the date that they will turn 18 so that we can be mindful of when that child needs to start adding in their own child protection, working with children checks, etc. The educator register is also required to document which children are in care with a given educator at any particular time. So each child also then gets their own card in their educator's column. The things we keep on that card are really basic. It's the child's date of birth, again, a couple of tags to filter if we need to, what their booking is, and a space to mark off when we receive documentation of learning for them so we can make sure that's being submitted regularly. All of our educators are set up the same way. The main difference you'll notice is our colour coding. Because we operate in both Victoria and South Australia, you can see that we have chosen to use a colour system to easily identify which educator is in which state. This is based on the state flags. Our Victorian educators are blue and white, and our South Australian educators are red and yellow. Next, we've got a sample educator column there that's really easy to just duplicate and keep using. And then we have our potential educators. These are educators that are in the process of being onboarded with our service. As you can see, we don't have a photo for any of them yet. We also don't have any of their information plugged in yet, but it's a space where we can record that information as we receive it. And it's also a space to record any correspondence or support we give them during their onboarding process. We have space for a complaints register for the rare times that's needed. It's somewhere that's easy to find very, very quickly and very searchable to document any complaints we receive. And then we have our archive. The archive is the last stage of our personnel register, and that is for people who have exited our service. This is an example of how we would store an educator's record who is on long-term leave. So this educator, their colours are still very bright. There's no green ticks. So they haven't been marked completed, but they are in the archive instead of in the main body of our personnel register so that their records are out of the way, but we can pull them straight back in when they come back from leave. Exited staff and volunteers live here as well. And then for educators that have finished their time with us, we mark off the little tick circle and they go green, and then they grey the educator out a bit. So we complete by ticking off all of their cards. We delete any family daycare children because those records are no longer required to be kept after an educator ceases, certainly not in the personnel register. We keep their records in other places too, obviously. And then we move them to the archive. We keep track of when that educator's cease date was, as you can see here, so that we know exactly when we can fully remove their record from our personnel register. This did take some time for us to build. It was quite labour intensive to get started. However, the amount of time it has saved us has been absolutely astronomical, especially when compared to a traditional Word document system based on the template that a SQL provides. This is a very functional, highly searchable database, and it's a very, very powerful piece of software. I would highly recommend exploring it in your own service, as we found it to be extremely useful in ours.